Tonight is the night for Fordham softball. They find out their seed and where they'll be playing in the 2018 NCAA Softball Championship, their 6th NCAA Softball Championship in a row. Tom Pizzulli alongside Emmanuel Barberi and Jimmy Sullivan. We've had a chance to be along this ride, this magical run for this Fordham Rams softball team this year, and we're privileged to bring you this broadcast as well. E-Man, what a run it's been. 6 straight A-10 titles, 7 in the last 8 years. There's a lot of things that go into that amount of sustained success. In your mind, what's the number one thing?
I think it starts at the top. It starts with Bridget Orchard and her staff. They instill that mindset every single year. For some programs, 6 straight winning seasons is an accomplishment. For Fordham, 6 straight A-10 titles is the bar, and they said it right there. So if you're a new freshman coming in, a very young team this year, a young collective group, you have that winning atmosphere. You have that mindset that that's a standard set, and that's what Fordham's gone by for the last 6 years. For the last, really, decade, they've had so much success because of it.
And she really is that one constant on this team, because the nature of collegiate athletics is you lose players, they graduate,
exactly.
New players come in. She's been the constant for every single one of these A-10 championships, every single one of these NCAA runs. Jimmy, what makes her such a good coach?
It's just, I think, the development of players as well as the recruiting, because it's one thing to be able to recruit players, but it's another thing to be able to develop them once they get here. And there have been so many good players that have gone through this program. I mean, just even look this year, you've got a freshman in Paige Ral, one of the best players on the team. So she's really been able to develop players well. And also remember the historical context. Fordham hadn't won an A-10 title before Bridget Orchard came, and now they've won 6 in 7 years. But she's just been fantastic. It's developing the players in addition to recruiting the good ones to get here.
And you see it all the time in college sports. You bring these recruits in who had tons of success in high school, all the accolades you can imagine, but then they end up falling short because they don't have a particular environment where they can succeed. How does a coach in Bridget Orchard create that environment for success?
I think it starts with the upperclassmen. When they have that development, they know how to pass it down. They make the other players feel welcome. They make those other players feel like there is a standard here. So when a Paige Ral comes in here, she has a bunch of upperclassmen who have done it when they were young, and then you're able to pass it down. As Jimmy was mentioning, it's unbelievable. You have arguably the best well-rounded player on the team in Paige Ral. She's a freshman. She's coming in here knowing she can succeed, and I think that's the key. And the upperclassmen pave way for her to have that kind of success.
And I think Paige Ral can be the number one example of what Bridget Orchard does as a coach. Bring these players in, raw talent coming out of high school, a lot of accolades. They give them an environment to succeed right away, and she's done it with an A-10 Rookie of the Year selection, with a selection to the first team in the Atlantic 10 at 2 positions, at pitcher and a position player spot. So it's a very impressive thing, and she's been here this entire time, and she's continued to bring players in. But Bridget Orchard, it's not just about the young players with her. She's had players like Madi Shaw, like Lauren Quence, these battle-tested players that have been there for multiple runs. What does it do to have a coach that not only can develop young players, but can also coach those older players that have been around the block as well?
It's absolutely huge, and you have a trust factor as well with some of the older players who have been here for a couple of years. And they come through in big games. I mean, if you look at all the games in the A-10 tournament, you had people like Chelsea Skrepanak, people like Maddy Shaw, juniors, seniors, Skylar Johnston, a sophomore, but she has some experience as well. So you have a trust factor with these players, the older ones who have been with Bridget Orchard, and then the freshmen and the sophomores are the people who build that trust as well. So they've been really good, and she's really good at developing the players, and then with the trust, it just builds over time, and by the time you get in Maddy Shaw's position where she's a senior, there's already so much equity built in that relationship that there's mutual trust on both sides.
And we are.
This is 100 times more nerve-wracking.
What helps is the hush that comes over the room. So here's the Baton Rouge Regional. Obviously the 11 seed LSU already up. Friday at 6:30 would be the game.
Everyone's phone is out right now, too, to record this.
This was not one of the 3 regionals that we had. And there it is. Fordham will be in Baton Rouge taking on the 11 seed LSU Friday at 6:30 p.m. streaming live on the ESPN app. And the Rams are going down south to Baton Rouge.
And now on the other side of the bracket, you see Louisiana pop up. This has a major bearing on this matchup that Fordham has.
It'll be Louisiana and Houston. Louisiana at 38-14, Houston at 36-20. That game will go down before the Fordham LSU matchup Friday at 4 o'clock. That's a pretty cool destination to go to, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And now you talk about being greedy. The Rams, 6 years in a row they're here, 7 out of the last 8 years. It comes to a point now, especially where it's not just you want to win the A-10 and make the tournament. You want to do something in the tournament.
Absolutely. You want to make your mark. And, I mean, especially for these seniors such as Madi Shaw, such as Lauren Quence, you have – this is your last chance. This is the final impression you're going to make in college. And you're going to try to do the best you can, and you want to move on past the first round because they got in the first round last year, and they stole a game against Mississippi State.
Got a win last year.
Then they wind up getting killed by BYU. So, it's going to be very interesting to see how they come out. But, yeah, I don't think there's any complacency. I think that's the good thing about this Fordham team. They've been here before, and they don't get complacent. They know when to attack.
And we are rejoined by Fordham softball head coach Bridget Orchard. Very exciting, obviously. And I asked you the question beforehand when we were talking to you the first time, does this ever get old? I think there was evidence of it when you jumped out of your chair and you were going crazy when the name came across the screen.
We hadn't been to LSU. Obviously, she's been here for 5 years. We've gone to regionals. We've gone to Oregon and Utah. We hadn't been to LSU. We were both saying it'd be just a cool place to go. They had an amazing stadium to play in. Obviously, they have an amazing team, but I think it'd be an awesome regional. And we get to stay in our same in the East Coast, so we don't want to fly West Coast.
So you have Paige Ral, Maddy Augenbaugh. They have Allie Waljasper and Carly Hoover. How privileged is it to face a team that you kind of share some similarities with in having that high-powered pitching?
Yeah.
Privilege is one word for it.
Privilege is one word. They're amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to get the experience for our kids to get out there and face them. Which is the reason why we started up at, we started out at UCLA, we went to Alabama. So we saw Soria, we saw Richard Garcia, so we saw to be the best in the country. So hopefully, obviously a while ago, but hopefully these girls will
This is the only one that has it.
So just don't unplug that.
And obviously they're going to have the advantage of playing in their home stadium. The same advantage you guys had in the A-10 tournament. So is it kind of like you guys are going in knowing the advantages they're already going to have?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. Yeah, they're definitely going to have that home field advantage. They're going to have a home field crowd again. With Alabama, we kind of saw that. Obviously, the SEC fans, the power that people come and sell out their stadiums, which is another reason we're excited to go there. It's just such a great atmosphere. I think the opportunity for our student athletes to get there and to see that kind of atmosphere for us.
And, Coach, we weren't really talking about the LSU regional going in. We had talked about South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, stuff like that. Did you have any particular preferences to where you were going, or does it really not matter to you?
No, it didn't really. We wanted to go somewhere. We obviously played at SEC Stadium as an opportunity. We did not want to go out west. We didn't want to take that flight out there. In the past year, we also went on a Sunday, so we were really tired. At least yesterday, we hope this will be today off. Just to travel a little bit. But I think maybe just staying on the side, if parents want to come down, it's a little bit closer than having to fly out to Utah. So definitely excited about the location.
And you've touched on this. These SEC schools, they are softball crazy. They're sports crazy in general, but they're softball crazy. What is it like playing in a stadium like that, the size of it, and then having it packed with people? What's that atmosphere going to be like?
I thrive off it. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's, like I said, it's a great opportunity just to grow the sport. Obviously, our coach Beth Torina, a household name in the coaching world. So it's just nice for our girls to kind of to see them, to watch them, and obviously get to play with them and compete against them. And in softball, we always say you never know, anything can happen. Super excited about the chance that we get to have an opportunity to knock off one of the top teams in the country.
And how confident does it make you guys knowing that you strategically scheduled those games against some of those big schools in the beginning of the year and got to experience that win or loss, but you've been there? How confident does that make?
It's great. I think it's just so the pressure's a little bit off. I think knowing that they've been there, they've seen the great players, so they know going in that they're a little better prepared the first time stepping out. A ton of people there, all the fans there.
And what do you expect? And obviously, you have players on this roster. We've mentioned them before, like Madi Shaw, like Lauren Quence, players that have been there many times before. But Paige Ral, we've mentioned her already, she's been one of the more important players on this entire team, but she's only a freshman. This is going to be her first experience in the NCAA Softball Championship. What do you expect from her? Do you think there will be some jitters?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. I mean, how can there not be, but again, I think, I go back to that opportunity. I think she's just going to thrive under that atmosphere, and if anything, it's going to get her better and better for her future years. But I definitely think she's a gamer. She's a big-time player. I think getting the experience here at Fordham at home with the crowd that we had, obviously it's not as big as the one that we're going to see at LSU, but she's had the pressure before. So I think that, she'll probably shine bright out there.
You faced a player like Jenna Koza in the final games of the season, and you got a sense of what a player is like that's just doing special things time and time again. when you face teams like LSU, you have that up and down the lineup. So
Absolutely.
how does that change the approach, knowing that each pitch you miss, you're going to get hurt?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. But I honestly would say that I said this before. I think that Jenna Koza is one of the best that we've ever seen on any of those rosters. So I would put her up against any of those LSU
Exactly.
batters. I think she's one of the best we've ever seen. We're intentionally walking on the bases loaded. We have pretty high respect for her. And I don't see us doing that against, even in the LSU. We didn't do it against UCLA or even Alabama. And I think that Koza, actually, our pitchers having to face her is great for us going into LSU because they had to be very careful every time they faced her. So I think that they got that experience, at least facing somebody they knew. If they miss, they could do some damage.
Coach, congratulations. Go get them at LSU.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, guys.
And now we are soon to be joined by our first player on the show tonight. Lauren Quince will be joining us, and she's getting her mic right now. Lauren, first of all, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Of course.
And congratulations once again, a graduate student. You've been here before multiple times. And I asked this to Bridget Orchard. Does this ever get old?
No, never. I mean, especially when you get sent to a new place each year, it never gets old.
The at-bat on Saturday against UMass, you hit the grand slam in the 5th inning, put Fordham up 6. What was going through your mind at that at-bat? You came up with the bases loaded. Were you thinking trying to hit a fly ball there, or were you just trying to put the ball in play?
I was just trying to hit a single.
Yeah.
To be honest, I feel like that's when you hit the home runs, is when you're not trying to. I just really wanted to get those insurance runs because we had gotten 2 in the inning, and I wanted to get the insurance for our pitchers. And I mean, it just happened to be in my heat zone, and I was like, let's get after it.
You've had a really great Fordham career, but of course, been some struggles this year. What kind of confidence does that give you heading into a big scenario like this, helping your team in such a big way in the final game of the A-10 tournament?
I don't know. I don't really have an issue with confidence. That's like, but no, just I mean, my teammates, we build each other up. My coaches, we build everyone up. So I think our whole team is feeling pretty confident after that series with UMass. I mean, you guys know they came here, swept us 3 games. You know, they came into the tournament hot, and we kind of just showed them what we can do when it comes to crunch time, and I think that's huge. That's experience for people, and that gives everyone confidence going into this next round.
And that was a point we were touching on earlier when we were just bantering about this, how important momentum could be in a situation like this, where you had the chip on your shoulder against UMass, you beat them 2 straight games. Is that a feeling around this team right now that you still have the chip on your shoulder, why not us type of mentality? Is that the mentality right now?
Yeah, I mean, it just shows that you can accomplish anything if you believe in yourself and your teammates. And I think that was huge for us this past weekend, and that really propelled us past, the challenges we were facing.
How much did the confidence help you? You obviously have the experience the past 3 years. Even though you were swept by UMass about 2 weeks ago, how much did that confidence from past years help you heading into this weekend?
Oh, it keeps you completely level-headed. I've been in this situation before, maybe playing a different position, but been in the situation before, had the, weight of the A-10 title, carrying the legacy on my back, and so have my teammates. So, we've been there before, done that, and that's how we're taking that into this regional.
Describe the difference, if any, playing a softball game either at home or at an A-10 stadium or at a stadium like the one you're going to be playing
Oh
at
my gosh,
LSU.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to go to LSU. I love their uniforms. I love their stadium. But, I mean, our stadium's pretty nice here as well. So,
Yeah.
and we had that thing was bumping on Saturday.
It
So,
was.
I mean, we're ready for LSU. I know it's going to be packed. And in the past regionals, we've been to Oregon, Florida State. They've been jam-packed with fans, too, and just screaming and hollering. And that's kind of what we live for. So I'm really excited for the younger girls to experience it. And I love it. So I feel like that makes us thrive.
And now, being a graduate student, it's going to be your last NCAA tournament. What are the emotions going to be like?
I'm ready to get after it. Leave it all on the field, right?
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I'm 23 and still playing softball, so.
Nothing better than that, right? Thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations.
guys.
Another NCAA tournament.
Thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much.
And that was Lauren Quince taking the time to talk to us after getting selected again now as a graduate student to the NCAA Softball Championship. And here we are for another interview here, another appearance in the NCAA tournament. What is this like?
I mean, it's pretty crazy. As soon as we saw, past the top 10, I think we were all like, oh, all right, like, we can do this. I think we had crazy expectations. Like, if you heard us during all the, 1 through 5, we were like, oh, like, huge sighs of relief. So to see us, past that top 10 and actually in a very winnable regional is, it's great.
Were you nervous at all? I know you're automatically in the tournament, but still, was it nerve-wracking to see regional after regional go up there, and then you just not having your name called until near the end?
Yeah, it was. And the way that they did it this year, how they showed it, the name one by one, like they've never done that. It's usually just been like the 4 and 1 flash. So I think that was certainly nerve-wracking. Just like not only just waiting for each regional, but then each team like one by one was definitely a different experience.
I asked this question before. You're heading to a great stadium at LSU. What's it like playing in an atmosphere like that?
It's unbelievable. I mean, which sounds cliche, but I mean, to have all those fans, even though they're not necessarily your fans, but just, that how loud everyone's being and just that energy. I think teams feed off of that energy. I mean, that you guys saw for A10s this week, having that home field advantage, but having all those fans there, that fired us up. So I think for us to go down at a stadium like LSU and feel all of that energy down there, I think that'll fire us up.
How could you rank the different selections that you've been through?
Yeah, I mean, compared at least definitely to the last two, the Oregon and the Utah, and now LSU. Utah and Oregon, I think we kind of went out there and we were like, we're happy to be here. It's like we knew it was going to be a crazy long shot to, win those regionals. But my freshman year, we had JMU, very winnable regional. We made it all the way to the final game, ended up losing on a walk-off. And now here we are back again my senior year in a very winnable regional. So I think everyone, reading that screen knows that, like, all right, we got an 11 seed, we can do this. So I think that is a huge uplifting thing for the team to see, like, all right, we actually have a shot at making it to Supers.
And we're talking with Madi Shaw here at the table during the Fordham softball selection show. Maddy, you were hurt during the year. You missed some time. What was it like coming back off the injury, because you missed some games, and then coming back towards the end of the season and then being able to contribute for your team after you had missed some time?
Yeah, being hurt, is never what an athlete wants.
Yeah.
It's also not my first time dealing with injuries. I've been dealing with, different stuff since freshman year. To, hurt my ankle at that time, especially in the UMass series, was definitely hurt the team. But to be able to, rehab, my ankle and be able to work back through that and be able to produce, like you were saying, it's just a huge, and it's just, I was really excited to be able to, keep helping the team.
And I've called you this on broadcast before, one of the all-time greats in the history of this program, up there in a lot of different categories, home runs, RBIs, batting average, you name it. Do you ever think about that as these games go along, that you're ranking in the all-time ranks in the history of this program? Does that ever cross your mind? Absolutely.
I mean, usually around this time, too, by the end of the season, after the awards were all given out and everything like that, and kind of reflecting back on the season as a whole, it's an honor to be, with some of those great kids like Elise Forty or Gabby, and to put my name in Fordham, for history. So to be able to contribute to this university and to, all the teams that I played with these past 4 years, it's just a huge honor.
Has it sunk in that the time is coming to a near close, or is it kind of overtaken by the fact that you have so many games to win in the A10 tournament and then now going into a double elimination NCAA scenario?
Yeah, I'm definitely in denial that I'm graduating. Absolutely.
I think a lot of seniors are.
Yeah. I am in complete and utter denial. My last final's actually tomorrow. But, I mean, when everyone was dogpiling after A10s, and I just started crying, like I was literally at the bottom of the dogpile, like getting suffocated, but I just started crying. But then I kind of got up, and then and that just kind of went away. So it was like really fleeting, because I knew, I'm like, all right, we got some more games left to play. I think, as far as we get, whether it's, to the end of this regional, hopefully into Supers, but whenever that last game is, I know it's going to be a huge wave of emotion that I've been very ignoring this entire season.
So it's kind of helping now going into the tournament, where you have the mentality, we have a job to do. We can't think about emotions right now, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah, focusing on the task at hand. Now we got LSU first game. We're going to, take the proper preparations, watch the film on that, and get as ready as we can be in this week. And so for me to be able to focus on that and just kind of ignore everything else is definitely an advantage.
Definitely helps, right?
Yeah.
You guys had some adversity this year. You finished second in the A10, and you got swept by UMass a couple weeks before you went into the A10 tournament with them. As for all the conference tournaments you've won, and you've won every year you've been here, where does this rank among all of the sort of seasons that you've had at Fordham?
Yeah, this season is definitely special. Like you said, I mean, the beginning of our season was definitely not what we wanted, not really what we expected. But for us to finally, find our groove, I mean, it took us, a while. But I think that's what makes this team so special, is to see just how much adversity we went through in those beginning months, and to come out on top in the A10 and have a great bid for the regional. It's, having A10s at home, all of these things. being a senior, being a leader for the team, it's been absolutely great. I loved it, and I think it's definitely my favorite season so far out of my 4 years.
It's been a magical run, and we're pulling for you to continue that run. Thanks so much for joining us, Madi Shaw.
Thank you.
Madi Shaw, one of the great players I've said in the history of this program. Now in her senior year, her final Atlantic 10 softball championship victory, and her final NCAA softball championship. And as we begin to wind down tonight, guys, it's been very eventful, obviously. Fordham will be playing LSU in the Louisiana Regional. It will be on Friday, and it'll be the second game of the 2 games there. Final thoughts?
I really like the attitude of this team, Bridget Orchard, the players we talked to. I'd say my final thought is that this team is as prepared as they can be. You never know how these games are going to wind up going. You never know the kind of challenge that they're facing, because we see the A10 teams all season long, so you don't get a sense of how good pitching here stacks up against good pitching there. But as far as mentality and the games they played earlier in the season, I don't think they're unprepared for the environment. I just think they're going to need good pitching from Augenbaugh or Rao, whoever it may be, and go from there.
And another thing I would add, too, is the thing that I liked most about this Fordham team. They're probably not the favorite in this region. They're going in expecting to win. They're going in expecting, frankly, to win the entire thing. And that they don't go into a game thinking, we're lucky to be here, we're playing with house money, we're an underdog, we're not seeded, whatever. They are expecting to win every single game they play in this NCAA tournament. They have the experience to do it. And like we were just talking about with Madi Shaw, it's not an unwinnable regional for them. LSU is a good team, but Fordham, with a couple of breaks here and there, they can very easily win this regional and move on to Super Regionals.
And you heard Madi Shaw say it. She called it a very winnable region. And after winning a game last year in what wasn't a winnable region, that was a very tough region with teams like Utah and BYU. They truly believe, like you said, they have a chance to take it this year. So once again, it will be Fordham and LSU in the first game of the NCAA Softball Championship, LSU being the 11 seed. It will be this Friday in the Louisiana Regional. The Fordham Rams, their 6th straight NCAA Softball Championship, their 7th in 8 years. For myself, Tom Trezulli, for Emmanuel Barberi, for Jimmy Sullivan, the Fordham Softball Selection Show has been a presentation of WFUV Sports.